Hi, my name is Justice, and this is day 13 of Healing Out Loud. I am documenting my depression so my kids don't have to lose their mom the way I lost mine. So, we're still in that summer. We're picking back up from there. We're still in the summer that changed my life, right? After everything that happened, after my grandfather telling me that I wouldn't go back to boarding school, after all the chaos with my mom, when I left the ranch, I went to my grandmother's house, my Mimi, my mom's mom. Now, this part is important because even though there were people in my life who didn't facilitate me having a relationship with my dad, my Mimi did. She knew how much I wanted my father. And when I got to her house, I was sad, of course. Like, I didn't know what was about to happen with my life. I've been going to boarding school at this point for a couple of years, and now everything just felt uncertain. But one thing I did know is I wanted my dad, probably now more than ever. I told my Mimi how much I wanted to go with him, and in my mind, after everything had happened, I really believed this might be my chance to finally live with him. Remember, I always thought my dad was going to be my hero that came in and took me out of everything I was going through. So when my Mimi made it possible for me to spend the weekend with my dad, y'all, that meant everything to me. I need you to really understand that this wasn't just a visit. This was hope. This was a dream. This was me believing my whole life was about to change. And I want y'all to remember this too, right? Because this weekend would be the first and last time I would ever spend a night at my father's house as a child, as a kid, growing up. My grandmother packed my clothes and she sent me, and I went. And when I got there, it wasn't just my dad. He had my little sister, the one who's 1 year younger than me. I can't even put into words how happy I was. There was another little girl that looked similar to me, but like a different version, right? I admired her so much. I loved the way she talked, the way she moved, everything. I just knew I had a little sister. And not only that, there was his wife. This was their home, their family. And there were two more siblings, my little brother a few years under me and my baby sister. Like, she was like a baby, maybe a couple of years. And when I looked at her, it was like heaven. Do you understand like what that could feel like for me? I had been an only child my entire life at this point. And in my mind, this was it. This is where I belonged. I thought my life had just changed forever in the best way possible. And that weekend was one of the best and worst weekends of my life. Because while I was there wasn't a single bad moment. Not one. We watched movies. We played in each other's hair. Me and my little sister, the one that's like close in age, we talked about everything. I had never had that before. Never. My dad's wife, she was pretty to me. Her complexion was like similar to mine, like where we could pass. And in my heart, I just felt like this could be my mom. This could be my family. And I wanted that. I wanted to belong there more than I wanted to breathe. And we did, like, that weekend, we did little kid stuff. Like, we would go at night and knock on my dad's bedroom door, like ding dong ditch, and run away laughing and stuff. We stayed up eating candy and snacks. It was just the best moment of my life at that point. Y'all will never understand how good that felt for me. Nothing negative happened that entire weekend. It felt like a blessing that God finally gave me, something that I deserved. I was a kid. I deserved to be happy. But good times don't last. My grandmother came to pick me up when the weekend was over, and I will never forget that day for the rest of my entire life, because it became the most heartbreaking day I ever experienced. She picked me up, and I remember we went to her brother's house. He had like a little party going on or something, and I was sitting there happy, excited. I was telling everybody about my weekend, talking about how much fun I had, how happy I was. My dad had even bought me a phone that weekend. He got one for me and one for my little sister. And as I sat there on the couch, my phone rang. Remember, I'm happy. I'm telling everybody about how perfect my dad is and his wife and everything we did that weekend. I was just ecstatic. When my phone rang, it was my dad, so I'm trying to be cool. You know, I'd never had a phone at this point. I'm showing them. I'm like, look, this is my dad calling right now. I answered the phone. I remember, like, I don't know. I picked up the phone and I held it up and I said, hey, Daddy. My grandmother wasn't in that front room at this point. She was kind of like maybe helping with drinks or something with my uncle. These were his exact words to me. Don't you ever contact me again in your life. I don't want anything to do with you. You are not my child, and I will never be in your life. You mean nothing. And then I remember he said again, don't you ever call me again. Y'all, I didn't even like get to say why I couldn't talk. Really, I even thought it was a joke. But then he hung up. And when he hung up, I knew it was real. I just fell onto the couch. I remember this day like it just happened. I sat there. I remember the room. It felt like it was spinning. And that moment, it killed me. It killed me. It killed the child in me. It killed my soul. I started shaking. I was trembling. I couldn't even form a sentence. I was trying to tell my grandmother like what just happened. I couldn't explain what just happened. I couldn't get the words out of my mouth. I was a kid. I was a fucking kid that never got to have my daddy. And he just called me and told me that. Eventually, like after this, I started screaming and crying. I calmed down enough to tell my grandmother what just happened. I believe she tried to call him. I don't remember everything in detail after that point. But I do remember this. I did not even know why. I believe not until the next day. My grandmother, his mom, I believe she called my Mimi, my other grandmother. And this is what she said. They said that my sister, like my one that's just a year under me, she said that either, I don't know if it was either I tried to smother my baby sister with a pillow, or it was said that I said I was going to smother my baby. It was one of those two things, right? For years, I lived in confusion. I replayed that weekend over and over in my head, and I'm not even going to lie to you. I still do it to this day. Because here's the truth. There was never a moment that weekend where anything like that happened. Like, not even close. I even tried to make sense of it. Like, I asked myself, like, did I roll over in my sleep, or did something happen like while I was sleeping? Did I move or do something? I went through every possible scenario in my head, because in my mind, I could not accept that someone could just make something like that up. I'm not gonna lie, I've seen a lot of things at this point, right? I was an abused kid, right? But I've never seen that happen. I never knew people, like somebody can just make something out of nothing. I know people could like exaggerate something, but I never knew like something so serious could just be made up, right?